Good afternoon and welcome to our webcast. We're very excited to have you here today to learn about a program that we've been implementing on the VCU campus. It's great that we have Andrea and Jennifer here to talk about their experiences with our program, the Academic and Career Exploration-Individualized Techniques. I thought it would be important to first start with sort of a framework and briefly talk about the structure of the program. So as Andrea and Jennifer provide their comments, it will give you sort of a context about the services and supports that we provide through our ACIP program. VCU has been exploring for a number of years different service options to serve students with disabilities on our campus. One particular program that we are looking at now is looking at the academic elements and career elements that are involved while students are in college. A very, very important connection that needs to be made, and we have combined these two elements in order to assist students both with their short-term and long-term goals. Our program is in close collaboration with our Disability Support Services Office on campus, and we're looking at ways to tie in the types of services with the accommodations that students are provided through the university. Today we're going to focus on the program that is here at VCU, but I did want to mention that we have been working with other colleges and universities across the state to replicate what we are doing here, and we have been working with four-year colleges and universities as well as community colleges looking at ways to provide expanded services for students. I wanted to briefly cover about the principles of our program. We felt that it was very important that our program be consumer-driven. When students come into our program, we talk with them and discuss where they are at that particular point and to gain information from them in terms of what they believe their service needs and supports are, and then develop a program around what they feel would be most important to them. So our program really is open entry and exit. Students can access services at any point throughout the time and what they see as their needs. We felt that the program obviously needed to be very individualized to provide a support system of community and university resources. It's very important that we look at community resources because students will be going through college and going out into the community, and we feel that it's critical that these links be established while they're in the academic setting, so that once they graduate and move into the community, they're familiar with services that are available there. Other principles of the career exploration, our academic and career exploration program, are that resources are structured to meet short and long-term goals. Sometimes the short-term goals are very immediate, that there's a situation that is occurring that the student needs addressed that week or within that semester, and we look at where the short-term goals are and then how to build those toward the more long-term goals in terms of what their program of studies might look at, different courses that they may need particular assistance, as well as what their career goals are and what they will need perhaps even in an academic setting. And again, the resources are structured around an individual need, but also very importantly around their career choice. We feel that even students who are coming in as freshmen that we work with, that it's very important that they start to look at what their career choice may be so that they can start to work on the various academic needs they may have as well as career options. There are a number of important reasons for this particular program. Retention is probably one of the key reasons. As many as you may know, retention is a critical problem and issue for students with disabilities. We are seeing increasing numbers of students accessing college, but unfortunately staying in college and getting a degree and moving on into their career still remains an issue. So we really are looking at the importance of helping students and assisting them to be able to stay in their program. We have done a number of programs with college students with disabilities, and from what we learned from our past experiences, we try to build as we create and expand programs. And in other programs that we have worked with students, their feedback was a real need for career exploration. So we try to really look at various ways, and you'll see later on in the presentation that we do job shadowing or informal interviewing, just a variety of ways, part-time employment that might relate or give the student a better idea of a particular career option, and internships or externships in clinical settings as well is something that we really focus on. We find to be very critical in the program. We also received feedback from other programs that students are in need of learning more about what technology is available to them to assist them in their coursework, as well as technology that they would be using in the work environment. All too often, students who enter college are not aware of the technology, and even to the extent not aware of the technology that is on their laptop. So we really try to look at ways to assist students in learning more and trying out technology. Another reason for the program is for us to determine the effectiveness of different student service models. We believe that there are ways that universities could provide a variety of services for students, and in collaboration with the Disability Support Services programs on campus, and we are testing out those particular ways that programs can collaborate, providing services to students. Today's presentation and PowerPoint, as well as with Andrea and Jennifer, we are looking to determine the effectiveness of this particular model, our ACIT program, for students with traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injury and other physical disabilities. So today's focus is very much on these particular students and what we have been doing over the last 3 years. As you can see on the slide, there are 4 components to our program. Some of these I've touched on before. We feel that one, again, is to establish and use community linkages. We can't seem to emphasize that enough with students, because as they progress through their program, we want to make sure that they are looking beyond their college experience, which can be very difficult at times with tests and exams and trying to meet all the deadlines that are part of college, but we always try to help them look beyond so that we can start establishing those linkages and help them with community resources. Recruitment and intake of participants. I'll talk in a few minutes about how we are able to recruit students and sort of the process of coming into our program. Once again, it's an open entry exit program, so we do have sort of a flow of students coming in and out of our program, and we have found that has been very helpful to them than to have sort of a beginning and end, that they can come to us as the need presents or as they want to go further explore other options that they'd like to talk with us about. And then the development and implementation of an academic and career plan. Again, we want to have this as something that the students can utilize as well as program staff, so that there's a way to look at what the goals are and how to work to meet those particular academic and career goals. And evaluation is a critical part of our program as well. We want to look at the effectiveness of services and supports. We want to see the impact of the program through various ways of looking at GPAs, and I'll talk about the different types of evaluation that we conduct, and most importantly, student satisfaction. We really want to hear back from the students what's working and what's not working, so that we can always continue to improve the services and supports that we're providing. Looking at the examples of services provided through the program, these are just some examples. There's a wide range of services. Once again, it's very individualized to students' particular needs. Again, exposure to technology to increase efficiency and productivity in instances where students are very involved in our program and we're working very closely with them on technology. We will loan devices to students to try out and to see how to adapt to what their particular needs are. We do referrals to community services. We try to help, again, with that type of linkage. Another critical area is awareness of supports and services on campuses, both for students with disabilities and those services that are available to all students. We feel it's very important that students understand the wealth of resources that are available on campus and available to all students. A very critical part of the program, especially academic as well as in our career side of the program, if you will, is for students to understand their disability and impact on learning, and especially for students with traumatic brain injury, where it's could be an acquired injury. It's a very life-changing event, and learning is impacted as well as other areas of an individual's life. And all too often, students come into the college setting not really understanding what that impact involves and what's going on with them in terms of learning, what kinds of supports and services they need, how to articulate what they need. And so we find this a very critical part of the services that we provide. In conjunction with other campus entities, for instance, on the VCU campus, our counseling center does work in study skills and time management. Oftentimes, we will have students attend those sessions or make them aware of those sessions, but we find that within our program, there's an intensive need to really focus on really the strategies, the study skills, and the time management, and really set up something for a student to follow and really understand the importance of these areas, as well as self-advocacy skills. Many of the students, again, are unable to articulate what they need or how to access those particular services that they need, so this becomes a really important part of what we do. Reading and comprehension skills, very critical in terms of course, with the course and the level of coursework, which does vary in terms of intensity. Some students do well or are making it through college, the undergraduate, but then when they move to graduate programs, it's a very different type of intense programming and coursework and reading, and we find that we really need to take the student where they are in their particular programs. Our career services side, and again, it's not academic on one side, career on the other. This is a very integrated program because one really builds to the other, and it's really critical, and that's why we wanted to really look at combining the services. And working hand in hand with an academic emphasis as well as career emphasis. We want to begin to help students identify accommodation strategies that can generalize to the employment setting. Again, There are specific types of accommodations and strategies that work well in college, and we want the students to think about what might be most effective in moving to then employment, what technology might be important. And that's where the whole job shadowing and informal interviewing and maybe part-time jobs and internships in particular are critical for helping students to really start looking at what kinds of strategies would be most effective in the employment setting. We also are very involved with the assessment of clinical and internship settings to determine technology or other support needs. Again, internships in particular are a very good way for students to be able to try out what they need to be doing in a work environment, learning the work environment, what skills they need to have within that environment, and especially what kinds of technology or accommodations and strategies might be helpful outside of a classroom setting. And so a very integral part of what we do is to try to work with students who have clinicals or internship experiences to really look at what's involved in that setting and assist them. We also, and very much a part of our program is we do not want to duplicate services that are available on campus, so we collaborate very closely with our Career Center to assist students in preparing resumes or interviews and those type of skills and information that they'll need as they move into the work environment. And I mentioned the importance of internships, and we do run into instances where students do not have the grade point to become eligible for an internship, and it is so critical for students to have this opportunity to sort of have a hands-on experience, if you will, so that they can get a feel for work environments. And so we try very hard to establish, sometimes it's very short term time in a work environment, or would run the course of a semester depending on the student's availability and need. But we have found that this is a very good learning tool for students as they look ahead beyond college to look at the work environment. You'll see on your page a link where you will get more further detail about the framework of our model, and I will talk just briefly about that. This is an adaptation from some work that has been done with Brinkerhoff and some of his colleagues, and some of the work that they've done, and we have adapted this framework in terms of what our program is about. Essentially, the very first part of the program is direct coaching, and in that sense, this is the most intense time, if you will, with students. This is can be through a majority of the program, can be at the beginning of the program, and can vary in terms of student need. But direct coaching is really where students are interacting on a regular basis with our program staff in such areas as self-advocacy or doing some job shadowing, exposure to technology, and again, understanding the impact of their disability on their learning. So the direct coaching can be a very intensive time with the student, but we are always working with the student to move on further. And the next step would be sort of the monitoring stage, if you will, where students are utilizing the resources, implementing some of the strategies and techniques that they have learned or discussed with program staff. They're using those self-advocacy skills, and we're just sort of talking with them as the need comes up, but not quite as intense as the direct coaching, but really sort of implementing, if you will, the types of information, strategies, and ideas that they have received through direct coaching. And ultimately, our goal is to move all students to that sort of consultation phase, where students would notify us on an as-needed basis that they are really fully utilizing their resources, that they understand what they need to be doing, that they're moving along in their program, they're out in internships, they're seeking employment, going on further to graduate school. And it's sort of a touching back with us, if you will. And if need be, we will go back to the direct coaching if an issue or something comes up that the student really needs to talk through, and then we move again through our process. I just want to very briefly go through how our process works. We receive referrals from our DSS office, our Disability Support Services office, sometimes in connection with a counseling center or career center. Faculty and staff have recommended that students seek our services, as well as students find out about our program and also self-refer. The initial part, of course, is to come in and talk about what our program's about, some of our expectations, because we do have expectations of students, that it is a responsibility on their part to work toward resolving or learning about what they need to do, as well as responsibility on our part to assist them, but to move them further along so that they are independent and seeking what they need to be doing. So we discuss where the issues are at that particular point that the student is having and kind of sort through that, if you will. Then this would be one session, it could be a couple of sessions depending on the student's comfort level, but at some point then when the student feels that the program does offer what they need, again, this is very individualized, it's very student-driven. Once that decision has been made, then there is the development of an academic career plan, which really focuses on what those areas of need are. Again, both on their short-term and long-term. Again, we want to keep moving students along to their long-term goals so that they are successful in reaching what they would like to do as a career or sort of what further study, whatever their long-term goals may be. And then we continue to work with students to implement these goals. The academic and career plan is hopefully a way to touch back with students about how they're doing, what goals they've set, and it's not something that's necessarily a plan that's sort of put away and not looked at again. We try to go back to that so that we can continually work with students and move along the process with them. I talked about evaluation and how important it was in terms of the effectiveness of the program as well as the satisfaction of students who are involved. And some of the information that we collect as part of the plan is sort of the status of the student, if you will, their year in school, their course of study. You can see on the slide there that there are a number of areas that we look at. Their GPA at the entry of program, and then at the end of the semester having worked with us. Now, what we try to look at also is the intensity of their involvement, if you will, with us. There are many factors that can impact a student's GPA. They could get into a really great study group. There are a lot of factors that could impact that. But we do try to look to see whether, as a result of being in the program and some other things that the students have been able to pull together, that we are looking at some impact in terms of their GPA. And some of that means if students are off academic probation, we've had that kind of process as well. We do see students that are in serious academic need, and typically we do see students that are that need particular supports because of not being successful at that point in their college environment. We do see students who really need the technology to ensure their continued success in the college environment. So it very much varies, but we do look at GPA at the entry, and at the end of the semester we look at what kind of community support services they perhaps have been tapping into, as well as we really like to find out what accommodations are being provided by the college so we can look at how the services and supports that we're providing sort of blend, if you will, with those accommodations. We do not go directly to faculty. We work with the student because the accommodations are set by the university, and those accommodations and that process is a very separate process from ours, and we talk with students about that as well. But we do like to see what accommodations are provided so that we can look at sort of the blending of the services and supports. We look at their use of accommodations. A lot of this is self-report, but we feel that we've developed a rapport with students and get a sense of where they are in the program, so that we do have an idea of their use of, those are of university accommodations, so that, and we do encourage students very strongly to utilize whatever resources or accommodations that are provided through the Disability Support Services office on our campus, and additional campus supports that they may have tied into as part of their program. We also look at what interventions or learning strategies and techniques were used. We look at what the challenges were, what were some of the presenting issues that students came in with. What were those interventions, as you can see? What interventions or learning strategies were involved? What technology interventions and how did that work, and what was the student successfully able to use? Interventions that are career related. Was there work done on the internship site? Was there job shadowing? What kinds of things were set up for the student in order to pursue those careers? And as I had said, most importantly, student participation and their satisfaction. We really do go by what students' feedback is. It's very important to us. We really want to know what the program's strengths and what those areas for improvement might be, so we can better serve students in the future. So I hope this overview has helped sort of set the context and to provide sort of a framework when Jennifer and Andrea provide their insights into the program, which I think you'll find very interesting and very helpful. And I will turn it back to you, Terry. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks for giving us that overview of the ACIP program and its services. Well, now we're going to be talking with Andrea Konig and Jennifer Bagsby. They are both students who have gone through graduate school here at VCU, and they've used the ACIP program and its services. So Jennifer, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your degree and why you chose that field?
I recently graduated from VCU with a master's degree in clinical social work. I chose social work because I want to make a difference in other people's lives. I've always enjoyed working with children, and now I have a professional position working with children and their families as an in-home counselor.
Okay, thanks. And what are some of the things that you do in your leisure time?
Well, let's see. In my leisure time, I like artistic activities and walking my dog, and I'm also working towards an LCSW.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And you're doing that here at VCU?
And the LCSW, I'm working on licensure, so I'm getting supervision through someone who actually graduated from VCU too.
Oh, excellent. And Andrea, how about you? What is your degree in and why did you pick your field?
I'm currently pursuing a doctoral degree in clinical psychology, and I'm interested in becoming a clinical researcher in the area of trauma disclosure and health. And I'm particularly interested in understanding how disclosing about highly stressful experiences influences psychological and physical health.
Oh, that's fascinating. And can you tell us a little bit about your other interests outside of school?
Sure. Outside of school, I really enjoy singing, and I've studied voice since about the age of 15. Particularly, I like opera, and I've had the opportunity to travel with several choirs I belong to different countries, and I enjoy traveling.
Wow.
As well.
So you're traveling abroad then?
Yeah, occasionally with the choirs.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your disability?
Sure. I acquired a traumatic brain injury in early childhood, and it's impacted every aspect of my life, from remembering, organizing, learning about social cues, time management, and also most recently I've learned about emotional regulation, and particularly that aspect has impacted me professionally, academically, and personally.
Your disability?
Sure. I have cerebral palsy from birth, particularly spastic diplegia, cerebral palsy. So in that respect, my CP mostly affects my lower extremities. But I also have subluxated elbows from birth, meaning that the bones in my arms are not exactly in the right location. So I also experience some pain in my arms if I overuse my muscles. Growing up, I used crutches to get around, and I really didn't feel disabled. It wasn't really until high school when I started experiencing chronic pain in my back that I really did start to feel disabled, and at the time the professionals didn't know how to help me with that, so I wound up being bedridden for the majority of my time during my undergraduate years. And I've worked from that time till now to really regain my strength and my stamina. And my disability affects my daily life in that I really have to pace myself. I can sit for about 45 minutes at a time, and then I need to really stand up and preferably walk around and move around so that I can avoid back pain. Similarly with my arms, I can do some writing, but I really need to take frequent breaks to avoid overexerting myself and ending up in pain.
So you're not using crutches anymore though, right?
No, currently I use a manual wheelchair that I use as a walker really on outdoor surfaces to get to where I'm going, and then I use it as a comfortable seat to sit in when I get to my destination. And yeah, that works well for me. It allows me to alternate my position, standing and sitting, and provide some stability on uneven surfaces.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you both for sharing that background. Jennifer, can you tell us about your current job and why that's a good match for you?
Sure. Even before applying for the job, I worked with project staff to find out what the position requirements were going to be and more information on the working environment. I found out that I'd be working directly with children and their families. I found out that I would have autonomy, and I also found out that I would have the option to do a lot of paperwork electronically, which helps me to be able to use Kurzweil, which is a screen reader. I also found out that I would have the option to socialize or not socialize with coworkers, and in effect, I disclosed my disability in order to make sure that the job would accentuate my strengths.
Okay. And you talked about the Kurzweil screen reader. Could you tell us a little bit more about that for people who may not be familiar with it?
Sure. Kurzweil is a computer program that allows you to either scan or you can take a Word document and you can cut and paste it into Kurzweil, and it allows you to highlight and manipulate the text, and it also allows me to slow down the speech because I like to have the speech almost slurred when I listen to it, and it helps me to be able to have multisensory way of collecting information.
Okay, very good. Can you tell us a little bit about your job search after you graduated? What was that like?
Sure. I had a couple of positions that were outside of my professional choice, and just basically to pay the bills. And through those positions, I learned more about emotional regulation, which has helped me be successful in this job.
Okay. And your job search, did you disclose your disability, or?
In my first positions, I did not disclose, and that turned out to be a mistake because the job requirements weren't a good match for me, but when I worked with program staff, then I was able to find a position that was a good match.
And when you say program staff, you're talking about the ACIT,
The ACIT
staff?
program.
Okay. And so you worked with them, and you all went over your first experience and where your strengths were, and used that for your second internship. Is that what happened?
And my strengths, as well as being proactive in the things that I needed to change to be successful.
Okay, all right, thank you. And we touched on it a little bit, but could you tell us some of the other services and supports that you got through ACIT, maybe through your academics?
Sure. Through ACIT, I got assistance with technology, which included Palm Pilot, Kurzweil, books scanned and read, and that allowed me to have multisensory access to information. I had weekly meetings with the ACIT staff to help with time management, prioritizing homework, study skills, which are a lot different from graduate school from undergraduate, and breaking down papers. And also, I learned that if I use a yellow highlighter, it works very well. And I also used Kurzweil, and the program staff helped me to realize that that program would help tremendously with doing work and also in internships.
Okay. And you said you used the Palm Pilot. Is that something they helped you with in learning how to use the Palm Pilot?
Yeah, they helped me by showing me how to download the information from the website so that I could get the Palm Pilot to work. And then they showed me how to actually use the Palm Pilot so that I could program things that I needed to remember into it, so it helped with memory.
And I guess you use that too with like time management skills?
The time management and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with your internship, we talked a little bit about that, how they helped you for your second internship, being prepared for that. And did they come onto your job site? Did you let them do that in your internship?
I did. They came to the internship site and were in a meeting with my supervisor for my internship, and together we worked on what accommodations I would need in the workplace and worked on making the next internship very successful.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Let's turn to you, Andrea. Can you tell us about how your disability impacted your career choice?
Oh, sure. When I started in undergrad, I really thought that I was going to pursue a career in the area of marine biology. And after taking a few biology classes, I realized, given my physical condition, that it probably wasn't realistic that I was going to live on a boat for 40 hours a week. And I also realized that I didn't want to be standing over a microscope and 40 hours a week, because I needed to have more interaction with people, is the conclusion I came to. And at the same time, I knew I still wanted to be a scientist of some kind. And so I thought a lot about what I could study realistically for the rest of my life and not be bored, and also something that would be physically feasible for me. And I realized that if I pursued a career in psychology, particularly clinical psychology, that I could be a researcher as well as a clinician and integrate these two areas of interest.
Okay, very good. Something that was challenging for you,
Yes.
but yet gave you the variety that you wanted.
Right, and I knew that I would have job flexibility if I pursued a doctorate.
Okay, very good. And what were some of the services and supports that ACIT provided for you?
ACIT has been wonderful in helping me in my clinical placement. Currently, I work as a staff therapist in the clinic on campus, and so I see clients on a regular basis, and part of my responsibility there then also is to complete timely progress notes as well as reports. And all this information is confidential, and so I needed to figure out a way in which I'd be able to physically complete these tasks. So ACIT brought in one of their professionals to my home to collaborate with my physical therapist on my positioning needs, as well as to assess how I may be able to benefit from assistive technology. And together they decided that there were several things that would be crucial to my success in the clinic, particularly a voice-activated system that would allow me to dictate to my computer, and then the computer would type out the text. Also, a digital recorder, which is kind of part of that, another part of that technology, which would allow me to dictate my notes verbally into a recorder and then download them to the computer later. And third, a adjustable height desk that would allow me to work in either sitting or standing positions, and to adjust the two surfaces of the desk to the appropriate height based on how I felt on any given day, so I could work without pain. So ACIT went ahead and purchased the desk, the voice software, and the digital recorder for me, and they sent in one of their staff members to the clinic to install the software on the computer and to help me learn how to train the software and how to use it.
And what is that software that you're talking about?
It's Dragon Naturally Speaking is the voice software, and then there's also a digital recorder that uses the same software as a base, and so it's one of the versions of the Naturally Speaking software that has this recorder that goes along with it.
And that was your choice to let them come into your internship site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was very grateful that they did so that I wasn't stuck with technology that I wasn't sure of how to use, and so.
Right. And is the desk that you're talking about, is that just for your home? Is that how that works?
The desk is in the clinic.
Oh, it is?
And the really nice thing about it is that it's something that I can take with me to my next placement site, because my work in this clinic is just one of several placements I'm going to have to be at before receiving my degree. So it's really nice to know that I won't have to worry about this physical obstacle in my future placement sites as well.
So it's yours and it's portable?
Yes.
The desk? Okay.
But it's going to be in my clinical placements,
Okay.
wherever they may be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now I wanted to ask both of you, what difference did ASIC make for your college experience? What do you think would have been like without ASIC? Jennifer?
Without ACIT, it would have been dismal. It would have been bad. The program helped me to be successful in internships and classes and gave me the support and ideas that I needed to compensate for my differences and to work with my strengths.
Right, Andrea?
For me, I really feel like without ACIT, I wouldn't feel like I was on an equal playing field with my colleagues in the clinic. I don't know how I would be completing my notes and my reports in a timely manner because they are confidential. I wouldn't be able to have someone, like just a random person, helping me with that. It would have to be someone within the clinic, which isn't realistic. So I envision that I would probably be pushing myself too hard and in pain and constantly worried about how I was going to complete these physical tasks, and that would be draining all of my energy away from really learning and being able to see clients, which is what I'm really there to do. And so I'm very grateful that I can expend my energy in that direction.
So what I'm really hearing is it helped you all be more independent in your as students and in your careers as you move forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to ask both of you, do you see a need for the ASIC programs in college campuses, on other college campuses, as far as some of the services that they provide?
Definitely, because as you go through college, the need for accommodations is a lot greater. At least it was for me. The higher up I went in college, and it helps with brainstorming ideas and figuring out what works for you, and it also provides the technology and the internship site assistance that I may not have gotten otherwise.
Okay. Andrea, how about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think without the ASIC program, I wouldn't be aware of the technology that was out there, and nor if I knew about it, I also wouldn't know how to go about receiving training in it and obtaining it. So I think it's an invaluable service for people with disabilities.
It sounds like it's very individualized and that they really take time with you and learn more about you and what your needs are in each setting that you're in. Okay. And just listen to you all talk on what you've been successful in, and as you move forward, what advice would you give to students who have disabilities who may be thinking about going to college?
Well, at the college level, you definitely have to be proactive in finding out the resources that are available and seeking out those resources, and you definitely can't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Okay. Andrea?
And I would say it's important to realize that most people don't finish 4-year degrees in 4 years, and that most people take extra time. And so I think it's important up front to be realistic with yourself about what's a reasonable time frame for you, and to avoid imposing extra stress on yourself and allowing extra time to deal with barriers that may come up that you may require some extra time and energy to iron out as you're learning the ropes of a new environment. And also, I think it's really important to visit an institution and really talk to the people in the departments that you may be interested in working in, because I think sometimes information you read on a website or in a brochure doesn't always give you a really accurate picture of what an environment is really like. I think it's the people that you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis and their attitudes that's going to make a huge difference in how smoothly your transition is from into the college environment.
Right. I totally agree. That's good advice from both of you. And I really appreciate you sharing your story and your experience through the ASIC program. And we really encourage students with disabilities who want to go on to college to seek out what services are available at their college campus. All right. Well, I want to thank our presenters for joining us today, Jennifer and Andrea and Liz Getzel that you heard from earlier. And we look forward to getting your questions in the chat room.